Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. But yes, welcome all. Today, I have a pretty exciting live because we are going to be talking about this very powerful, notable conjunction of Uranus and Jupiter. Okay, so big games, big changes up ahead throughout April. So this is going to happen in the sign of Taurus. So we're just going to dive right in. We're going to get into this because there's quite a bit to get through. And there's also going to be horoscopes at the end. Okay, so Uranus, Jupiter conjunction in Taurus. Now, it depends on where you are in the world in terms of when it takes place. So, yeah, the 20th, 21st of April, just depending on where you are. Though, before we do get into this, just to let you know that I do have some astrology products available. There's cheat sheets, there's ebooks, also some merch as well. You can find my ebooks and the cheat sheets over at Etsy as well if you prefer that, but you can go to hannahselsewhere.com for the astrology products, and you can also book a reading with me if you like. Plus, we've got the Patreon. So just want to say a shout out to my patrons over at Patreon. Thank you so much for all of your support. And just one more thing before we do really dive in, I will be hosting an Annual Perfections workshop at the end of March, and you can find the registration form for that workshop over at hannahselsewhere.com/workshops. It's going to be a good time. I hope you can join. But yes, with all of that being said, let's explore these planets. Right. So it's kind of a big deal. What's coming up, it's kind of a big deal. But what I want to do first is I really want to break this down. So as you can see here, a lot of keywords, a lot of keywords. But what I've also done to the far right is really look at how Jupiter and Uranus are quite similar. It is an interesting one because both of them are tied to the higher mind. Both of them are very futuristic, right? And inspirational. And both of them also look at freedom, our visions, our dreams in this way. So you could say that such a conjunction is going to be quite powerful, especially when we think about the new. Okay, this is innovative energy. This is also very hopeful energy. Now, when we look to the key words, if we sort of explore this, Uranus is really linked to like this exuberance, this rush of excitement. Uranus, I kind of think is, you get these big bursts of energy. You tend to see this a lot actually when it comes to Aquarians. If you've got Aquarius energy in your chart, it's very unpredictable. You just don't know when it's going to hit. But when the inspiration does hit, it's like you're go, 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 go. Aquarians can be like this, full of energy, full of life, full of passion. But of course, with the unpredictability, that passion can also die off, and you just don't know when that's going to come. You don't know when the hit's going to come. You don't know when the dip's going to come. Still, Uranus also looks at electricity, this sort of electrifying current that can run through our bodies. I sort of think of the glyph of Aquarius. We've explored this in the Aquarius archetype video about how this glyph sort of looks like a wave, or it looks like a current of electricity. So in this way, whenever Uranus does join up with Jupiter, this Jupiter is expansion, right? Wherever Jupiter is, it magnetizes it, right? It multiplies it, it enlarges it. There's growth, right? So whenever they do join together, you could say that this sort of exuberance, this excitement, it's going to be all consuming, or it's just going to be like, ah. Now, of course, the thing to keep in mind about it is your personal planets, your personal placements. Uranus is a generational planet. Jupiter is also, it's a planet it's more linked to like social events. So if you think about people within your class at school, you're all going to have the same Jupiter placements. Typically, that's not always, of course. All right, just want to say that. But the reason why I'm saying pay attention to personal placements is because then it's perhaps going to hit harder, right? You're gonna experience it more strongly, especially if you have like the moon, around. So the degrees of this conjunction is going to be 21. So it's going to happen at 21 degrees. So if you have your moon maybe in Taurus at that degree or around those degrees, so I would say, maybe like 15 degrees, maybe all the way up to 28, 29, just something within that kind of range. Yeah, it could hit you harder. And the other personal planets, just to let you know, would be, Venus, Mars, Mercury, the sun, of course. Even think about your rising sign. We will get into horoscopes as well toward the end, but just to let you know that. And the other thing I want to mention is Uranus is strongly tied to your independence. But here's the thing, Jupiter also looks at freedom. So when these two planets join together, we're going to notice these themes, and we're going to get into a few dates as well after this. But this is just to kind of give you some information and keywords to do with these planets so you can understand them better for yourself. And what I also want to mention, moreover, is Uranus can look at revolution and rebellion, and then Jupiter can look at visions and exploring new horizons, right? So, in this regard, it could be that there is something rather rebellious about the future. There is something rather rebellious coming up for many of us to do with growth and what we want out of life. Thinking about what your visions are, thinking about where you feel called toward. Even think about how Jupiter is strongly linked to your higher meaning. It's about higher meaning, and it's also about hope, and it's about faith. There's a lot of trust when it comes to Jupiter. It's sort of like trusting that things are going to turn in your favor and trying your very best to be optimistic and to be positive. Now, with that being said, of course, the thing about this is we don't want to either like fool ourselves, when it comes to optimism or positivity, or where it can lean maybe toward things being too impractical and unrealistic, right? However, the beneficial thing about this conjunction is that it's going to be making a sextile, yes, sextile with both Mars and Neptune and Saturn, all in Pisces. So with that Saturnian influence, especially, that's going to be more holding and supportive. It's also going to be in the sign of Taurus, so that can also signify or suggest more of a groundedness, right? But still, maybe this is about trying to see, okay, well, where is the evidence, in a physical, practical way too. It could be that we get carried away with things. So that's just maybe something to keep in mind. Still, this is breaking free energy, right? We're breaking free. It's breaking free energy. It's breakthrough energy. Let's even just consider the path of these planets over the past, so Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, just looking at all of these existing systems that have been shattered. Uranus shatters. It's like when I think of Uranus, I think of like a light bulb, and you just smash it, and it's just all the pieces, it falls apart. So, Uranus being in Taurus can suggest that systems with respect to finance and resources and belongings and our physical security, all these matters, these things have really changed, and the unexpected has occurred. Things have been highly unpredictable. And again, we're going to get into this a little bit more. So there's the path of Uranus, but then with the path of Jupiter, Jupiter entered Taurus there May 2023, but it didn't really enter Taurus in the best of conditions. We had the T-squares with the fixed signs. We had even the Grand Cross as well. And so it's safe to say that our patience has been tested, right? We see high inflation and the cost of living and the housing crisis. Again, we're going to get into these areas as well. But these things have really challenged us and tested us. And so I think a lot of us have had to really consider deeply, deeply, what are our values, right? We experienced the Jupiter retrograde throughout the end of, well, I would say halfway through 2023, and then toward the end, then we also experienced the Uranus retrograde. So for that kind of big chunk of the year, the second half of the year, that was really about introspection, right? That was about going back to the drawing board. That was about, okay, how can I realign myself with my values or with the things that I really long for, right? Thinking about your aspirations. We even had the Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, right? Jupiter rules Sagittarius. We had that Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. That was toward the end of 2023, coming into 2024. And so, yeah, it's safe to say that, our aspirations, our goals, our dreams, these things have been on our mind, and it's all part of this bigger picture, right? So, with following the path of these two planets, we have been tested. And I feel like whenever the two of them join together, then with this mighty conjunction, this is like, okay, breakthrough time. Okay, what about something you haven't thought of before? Maybe it's just like a lightning bolt hit. Uranus energy is like this awakener, and it's like just this unexpected unknown territory. You just don't know when it's gonna hit you. And it's interesting because with astrology we tend to, we look at the cycles and the patterns of what could be ahead and what might happen, but Uranus just comes along and goes ha ha ha, laughs at everybody. Uranus laughs at all the astrologers and just says, you think you know my next steps? You don't. You really don't. Yeah, I mean, could we really truly predict, for example, the lockdown situation? Could we? Anyway, you get my point, I hope. So, with the conjunction, it could be that these are the breakthroughs that you've been waiting for, and hoping for. That is in the thumbnail of this video too. And the other thing about it is, with this conjunction, it could look at a rare occurrence, right? A rare occurrence when it comes to luck, fortune, prosperity. No, I'm not suggesting that everybody is just going to become a millionaire or that everybody's going to win the lottery, okay? The day that this happens. Though, if you are feeling, if you're feeling lucky, if you're feeling spontaneous, you could try, do a little scratch card or something on the day, right? The 20th of April, 21st of April, maybe see when it's a Jupiter hour that day or something like that. Give it a try, see what happens. Now I'm kind of thinking of that. I'm like, I might try it. But no, for real, I don't think that this is what it suggests, but it could be that the ways in which things like fortune and luck and prosperity show up, maybe it's tied to contentment, right? Taurus energy, feelings of contentment. Or maybe it's linked to, do you know what? Actually, I do value myself and I do care about my own inner security and my feelings of worthiness and who I am as an individual, right? Because Uranus, the individual, the outsider, maybe many of us will be reassessing, the bigger picture when it comes to this whole notion of being an outsider. And it's like, no, actually, yeah, I will go my own way, follow my own path, follow my own dreams that don't necessarily have to fit into like the social norm or to what is expected, this kind of stuff. So these things could very well come up during this conjunction, but this is also the beginning of a new cycle, right? So, it's not necessarily where it's on the very day where things just fall on our laps, right? This is also a process. I think this is ushering in change that will gradually start to, occur as time goes on. Even just think about how with Uranus, especially, it's this futuristic planet. It is about, focusing more on what's to come up ahead. Here's the thing about it is this conjunction can be great for planning ahead. Maybe this conjunction is really helpful to kind of see, right, what are my aims? What are my hopes and wishes for the future? That's another big Uranus thing. It's like, what are they? And then Jupiter as well is like aspirations, right? You say the dreams and visions and stuff like this, right? So what are they? And then Taurus is like, right, okay, I'm going to commit, I'm going to follow through, I'm going to be stable, I'm going to be steady, I'm going to really try to aim for greater security in this way, make sure that all my finances are in order. Do I have all of the kind of saving accounts in place? Is there any debt that I need to pay off? What's keeping me back? Maybe that's a good thing to ask yourself. What's keeping you back? What is holding you from being able to sort of make these breakthroughs? How can you set yourself free from certain limitations that are quite confining, right? And limiting. Maybe Saturn being in Pisces along with, that kind of stellium, that can be especially eye-opening because maybe there's something to do with healing. There's something to do with our inner guide, wisdom. Perhaps there's also something to do with, really tuning in with what we desire on a spiritual level. So these are just a few things that I wanted to talk about with respect to this conjunction. But then just a couple more things would be so Jupiter can look at wisdom, and it can also actually point toward certain gifts and talents that we have. And so within Taurus, maybe this is highlighting some sort of gifts with respect to our skills. What are you skilled at? Look to your Taurus house. Look to your Taurus house and really kind of think about, okay, what are my skills? What am I good at? And also look to your second house, because the second house it's a house that shows us skills, and it's also about our talents as well. But still, with Jupiter, then Jupiter comes along and goes, okay, I'm going to show you here. And so again, this conjunction could be the start of something new, the start of something really prosperous, actually, when it comes to certain skills that you possess. And at the same time, being original. There's this originality when it comes to Uranus. Uranus is the planet that says, I'm going to follow the path less traveled. Actually, I'm going to make my own path. I'm going to innovate. And perhaps also there's something strongly linked to, technology and science with all of this too. Now, to also sort of think of it perhaps on a more challenging level, right? It could be that we do get carried away. And that's something that I was trying to mention earlier, right? Becoming very carried away. Or it could be that there's just so much of this, like this surge of energy, and it's like overdrive, overload, right? Being so like overstimulated, right? Jupiter with that expanding everything. It could be where it's like we do take things too far. We go overboard, right? So this actually leaves us on to, let's see, Taurus. So let's think about this sign. Do you like the bull? Isn't it adorable? I was like, the cutest bull ever. Anyway, or cow. Bull, cow. Anyway, so with Taurus can be a very self-indulgent, hedonistic sign, right? Taurus, as much as people try to say the stereotypes are not true, but Taurus can be possessive. Taurus can be at times greedy. So Jupiter in this position can perhaps signify these sort of tendencies of like, give me, mine, like that belongs to me, right? So maybe this is where it's kind of good to step back and really assess, where is that sort of stuff coming from? But at the same time, it's also about addressing any sort of fears to do with the likes of money and resources and materials. The thing about it is that money isn't a bad thing. It's not bad to want money. It's not bad to want to accumulate many items and materials, right? There is that. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So there could also be that part of it where you're able to kind of really see, okay, what are my views? What are my attitudes, my beliefs toward money? Maybe there is something that's like blocking that, right? Blocking that for you. So just to put it in a practical way, this could be where deep down within yourself that you want to make a change, right? You want to take the leap. Jupiter, take a leap. When it comes to a certain earning uh, situation, a financial prospect, a job, a role, a position, right? But you're like, oh no, 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 no. I'm not. I don't see that. Right. So I think what this is sort of highlighting is, when are you playing small? When are you believing these false narratives about yourself when it comes to what you want and what you really desire? What's holding you back in that? Is there something to do with insecurity? Is there something to do with feelings of unworthiness? Are there potential maybe fears coming up actually to that will maybe like hit you in the face and sort of go, hold on a second, why am I thinking this way? Why would I think this way about myself? This type of stuff could very well come up. Now, on the other hand, right, because I do want to try and make this a bit more balanced. Yes, perhaps this is also highlighting us as a collective, how we can overconsume, you know? And And I say this without judgment, right? But we can. We can be such over consumers, right? Where we're just buying so many products, we don't use them, we don't need them, there's no place for them, right? There's so much waste. That's another thing with Taurus, very much tied to the environment, very much tied to the material world, and how Uranus, the collective, right? Humanity, how we all share the space. Okay? We're all sharing, we're all coexisting together, but maybe there's a few adjustments that need to be made, right? Maybe there are a few changes that need to be made where it's like, do you know what? I don't actually need that. Here's the thing with the past year and the cost of living and inflation and everything else, the amount of cutbacks that have had to be made, right? This whole idea of, okay, what is a luxury? Right? Taurus, what's a luxury? But versus what's a necessity, right? What do I need? Like, what is part of my survival? What do I actually need in order to live my day to day and to, live a healthy life? Versus what do I want? It's like I want, right? And it's more and more and more. And you're never content. You're not actually content because you're just on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. So this conjunction is going to be very, very punch in the gut, like powerful, kind of seeing, hey, maybe I don't actually want those things. And then it's also questioning, how much do you want those things based on a genuine a genuine desire, right? Taurus looks at desire. Or is it that you're comparing yourself to everybody else, like online, or this person and that person, and like, oh, the car and the house and this product and this handbag. It's like, hold on a second, this is a great conjunction that's gonna come along and say, right, it's the start of a new cycle. It's time to think differently about the way you spend, about the way you consume, about materials. And other things to then consider with this is kind of going back to the stuff I mentioned about having a sort of plan in place. The planning part of it, which Taurus can be great at planning. Like Taurus can be great planners, very routine. This sign is extremely routine. Taurus is the type of sign which I respect. I have so much mad respect for Taurus in this. Taurus is the sign that can keep at something day in, day out. Ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Like just going along. And the task, the position, whatever it is, it could be the most boring thing. So boring, so dry, just But Taurus is like, hey, I'm going to paycheck at the end of this. And you know what? That paycheck is going to pay for my family. It's going to pay for my books. It's going to pay for the plants that I want to actually get at the end of the week. And Taurus is just laughing, ha 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 ha, whistling the work. Great time, Taurus, right? So I'm just having fun at the same time. This, I think, is going to then show us, what can you do? What can you do? What do you do consistently and routinely? And even if it's boring, even if it's like, you still show up. You're still there. You're still putting in the hours. You're still putting in the time. There's consistency with Taurus. So maybe this conjunction is going to be this huge awakener for us. Like oh, wow, I didn't see it like that before. Oh, wow, I actually feel really positive and really inspired by this. Great, even just adding to what you already do. And this doesn't have to be something so drastic. Like I said, this example earlier of changing a job. It doesn't have to be so drastic. It could just be something so simple. And that's the other thing, right? That's the other thing about Taurus. Don't make it complicated. I freaking love this about this sign, right? Taurus doesn't like complicating things, right? My Virgo self, I complicate everything. I'm like, oh. Taurus doesn't do that. Taurus just gives you the simple here, 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 done, right? And I love it. So, this is a conjunction I think that is going to usher this sort of way of seeing things, viewing things, and to also recognize the bigger picture when it comes to such matters. And just a couple more things, patience, right? This is patience. We have been taught so many valuable lessons about patience this year. When I reflect on this, like, let me just share my own experiences with it, right? Last year, I want to take you back, 2023, before Jupiter had entered Taurus, okay? I started the Cosmic Warriors Club. Cosmic Warriors Club. But sadly, I had to close it down because do you know what? It was not it the amount of work that I put in it was just not, I wasn't able to keep up with it, basically, right? So I realized, right, okay, that didn't work out. Okay. And throughout the year, so 2023 coming into 2024, I've had to really just be patient, to be resourceful. That's another thing. Taurus can be highly resourceful. And I've had to just really go back to, okay, well, what is working well? What can I do? And how can patience really help me move forward here? I think that Jupiter in Taurus has really taught us that patience is a virtue. To be patient, rather than rushing ahead, rather than on to the next thing, to be patient and to slow down means that, one, you can take in things better, right? You kind of think the whole thing of what is that saying, smell the roses. So you can really properly take in the appreciation of something, the smells, the surroundings, your surroundings, whatever it is. You can just take your time with it. And the other thing, then, the second thing I want to mention, with the patients, is that this is the how do I articulate this? So, okay, let me say an example. Let's say, for example, that you are right. You're waiting for a new phone. You want to upgrade your phone, right? You have a certain iPhone, and maybe it's the iPhone 11. You said to yourself, hey, I really, really want to upgrade my phone to the iPhone 13. Okay. And you realize that, oh, flip, my contract is not it's not over until next year. I have to wait another year. Maybe there's a part of you that wants to jump forward, right? And say, no, I don't want to wait for the next year. I'm just going to get the upgrade right now, right? But what if you waited? What if you had to just step back and thought, you know what, that's fine. Just wait another year. Who knows? Waiting that other year, you could have got a better deal. And maybe it actually worked out in your favor, right? You just don't see that. We can have this, what's the word? Urgency within society. And we see this with instant gratification via social media. You're scrolling next, 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 next. We're so conditioned to do that, right? But Taurus comes along and says, hey, just slow down, slow it down. Why are you rushing your life? Why are you just trying to speed through life? Zoom, zoom, zoom. It's like, no, today's a new day. I'm here. I'm present. And I'm saying this, by the way, and I have an Aries moon, and I get this thing of rush, 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 rush. But here's the thing, and this is what I think about the moon signs, is that we learn so much from the next moon sign. Even think about your secondary progress moon. We learn so much from the next moon sign over from us. And, Taurus is next to Aries in the zodiac. And I think a big lesson for me personally is that of being able to slow down and be more patient. So let's now move on. Oh, actually, one more thing. Just one more thing. I don't want to miss out on this. Creativity, being artistic, right? I think Jupiter in Taurus has been great for us on an artistic level, a musical level, a creative level. So there is that as well. And so perhaps this conjunction can highlight something quite innovative when it comes to our creativity. All right, so I'm just going to read through comments, see if anybody's joined. Oh, Pharrell Ryder, you said you think that this conjunction is happening on your birthday. How exciting. Hello to you. Hello, Rajesh. Is that how you pronounce your name? And let me see who else is joining. Welcome, Arda. Welcome to you. Hello to you, Martin, as well. Right. So, what I want to do is I want to just go through a few different Uranus Jupiter conjunctions. But the last time Uranus was conjunct Jupiter in Taurus was 83 years ago. Now, remember, it takes Uranus about 84 years or so to travel through all of the signs. So, 83 years ago, this was May 1941. It was at 25 degrees, this particular conjunction, and it was in Taurus, like I said. So, what was happening during that time was World War II was occurring, and May, especially, we noticed the May Blitz on Liverpool in England, plus the Battle of the Coral Sea began. So, that was to do with this Air Force battle. But both events involved aviation and ships. This is significant because Jupiter actually rules larger transport. Jupiter rules the likes of boats and planes. But then Mercury, you see, rules smaller transport such as vans, cars, even, bicycles. And Uranus then rules manufacturing and industrialization. So you can kind of see the combination there, right? The aviation stuff, the larger transportation stuff, and how the conjunction occurred then within Taurus. And we also see here that there was the Taurus stellium back then. We had Mercury, Venus, Uranus, Jupiter, and Saturn, but there was a square, right? There was this challenging square to Mars and Aquarius. And Mars, right, looks at the likes of weaponry, war. So, yeah, it's interesting to sort of reflect and see what was happening back then. And then you can kind of think, well, what's some sort of idea as to what may occur today? Now, the thing I want to mention with this is that there will not be a square to Mars and Aquarius, right? In fact, there will be a sextile, this sextile to Mars in Pisces. Much smoother energy flow, basically, when it comes to this particular conjunction this time around. But we're going to break down the astrology after these. A couple of other things which I thought were quite fascinating. So the thing that I mentioned about how Jupiter is tied to larger transport, let's think about Sagittarius, right? So Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Sagittarius looks at long distance travel. The first airplane was invented by the Wright brothers and took flight December 1903. Uranus was in Sagittarius at that time, and it was also Sagittarius season, so quite fitting. So the thing about the conjunction here is that it happens every 14 years or so. So the last time it happened, Uranus and Jupiter were conjunct in Pisces. So this was December 2010, and this was the second launch of the SpaceX Dragon. SpaceX becomes the first privately held company to successfully launch, orbit, and recover a spacecraft. Uranus then also looks at space exploration, and I just find that quite interesting, how there's that space reference, but then also there's another space reference next over with the Uranus Jupiter in Aquarius conjunction, and that was February 1997. So the SOYUZ TM25 launches to the Mare, Mir space station. And this is a Russian spacecraft that was launched to carry astronauts and supplies to this space station. And this is something I also looked up. There are 10 astronauts currently in space. Isn't that kind of interesting to think about? There's actually people in space above us right now. there's there's astronauts up there, right? There could be aliens as well. You never know. But I don't know. I just wanted to share that at the end. I just thought it was interesting. Even with Aquarius, right? Aquarius is very much this sign that's linked to the likes of aliens and extraterrestrials and space travel, astrology. And then to further on from this, Uranus and Jupiter were in Libra, July 1969. So we have another space reference. And the Apollo 11 astronaut Neil Armstrong first stepped on the moon. And this was on the 20th of July. It was at 0 degrees, this Uranus-Jupiter conjunction. 0 degrees, how profound. But here's the thing. Libra is about partnership, right? It's about collaboration. There were two people that stepped on the moon. And it was also it was Neil Armstrong and then Edwin Aldrin Jr. Now, you could be someone who's like, we never walked on the moon. It's fake, it's fake, it's fake. Okay, this video is not for you. Okay, if you have that view, that's completely fine. That's up to you. But I just thought it was so interesting. So he joined 19 minutes later. So you see the Libra influence there? And then we also notice, this is another interesting one, Uranus-Jupiter conjunction in Aries. This was February 1928. This was the first solo flight from England to Australia. And solo, what? Aries, independence. It's me. Right? Libra's like, okay, I want to join together with someone else. And Aries is like, nah, don't really care about that. I'm doing my own thing. Okay. So how fascinating is that? And then we also see here, lastly, there was the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction in Cancer, and that was May 1955. This was when the Warsaw Pact was signed by the Soviet Union and then all those other countries, right? So you think about home, heritage, this type of stuff to do with Cancer as well. And, the sort of interconnectedness and the collective consciousness tied to Uranus too. Very fascinating. So today, let's focus on today. Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018 and it will continue to be there until 2026. So what are we noticing, right? Doing away with physical money in exchange for digital money only. Okay, we've got cryptocurrencies, we've got virtual currencies, the CBDCs, okay, the central bank digital currency. Drastic changes as well when it comes to finances, property, land, farming, resources, stability. We see this. Just even thinking about the protests that have been happening recently with respect to farming. That says framing. My mistake. That should say farming, right? Typo. So that is an interesting thing to think about as well. And just the drastic changes that have occurred when it comes to finances and property. The economy, things have really, really changed. And a lot of that has to do with war. A lot of that has to do with lockdowns. And what is traditional has been challenged when it comes to the likes of beauty standards and food consumption, right? Taurus looks at sensations and the body. So you think about body acceptance, you think about the likes of veganism as well, and other even types of like diets, carnivore. There's a carnivore, the carnivore diet, stuff like that. Innovation when it comes to self-employment, work, and earnings. You think about the technological stuff, the advancements that have happened, the rise of influencers, even just the rise of the online scene, remote working, and then hybrid working. These things have all been ushered in strongly since Uranus has been in Taurus. And then with Jupiter has been in Taurus since 2023 and will be there until 2024. We've noticed the likes of inflation, cost of living, the housing crisis, recession, like we're falling into a recession apparently in the UK. I think I saw that. Hard for people to afford their rent. Again, it goes back to what is a luxury versus a necessity. This is also at the same time, though, looking at our hope and our faith when it comes to the future of finance, seeking new opportunities. How can we innovate new products and services? Is there a place in the market for something new to come in? And we are seeing these certain technology changes where there is some sort of questioning of morality. That's another thing. Jupiter is also tied to morality, right? What are your morals? So there could be some questionable practices that have been happening when it comes to the likes of AI. That's a whole other thing. This is also about, I think, the importance of returning to nature or just connecting with nature, the importance of slowing down, taking our time. Like I was saying earlier, patience is a virtue, plodding along, keeping at it, just being able to practice some type of grounding practices can be really helpful, really healing. Lessons about endurance, wisdom about our creativity, and about pleasure, and then seeking what we can learn and how we can grow from the things we learn. And then seeing the bigger picture about the economy and actually being intentional about our aspirations to show intention, to show commitment. So, when we think about both of these planets joining together and creating this conjunction where it's about powerful change, it's about a new cycle, consider these themes, consider this sort of overlap, consider how things can connect. Okay, let's see. Hello, Geoff. Welcome to you. Hello, Amy. Welcome. Right. So, what we also want to explore is the Aries stuff, right? There's so much Aries going on. So, I'm just showing a copy of the chart. The dispositor of this conjunction is Venus, and Venus is going to be in Aries during the conjunction. And it's also going to make a conjunction to Chiron and Mercury retrograde. So just to give you a few dates, so you can maybe refer back to this video and so on, let's consider how on the 8th of April, there is going to be that solar eclipse in Aries. And that's going to be at 19 degrees. But you see, Venus is going to be at 19 degrees during the conjunction. The conjunction is happening just a few days, well, 8th to the 20, maybe a couple weeks or so, or give or take, after the solar eclipse. So I think what is important to consider is how have things already been unfolding within your Aries house, also within your Libra house, because you have to sort of think about it through a lens of this axis. It is interesting as well because, the moon is going to be in Virgo at 29 degrees when this exact conjunction happens. But then, the moon will then shift into Libra. So it's going to enter on this same axis as well. So that's just something. But yeah, think about the eclipses, which have been happening in the signs of Aries and Libra throughout 2023. It was all it all started from April last year. And there was an activation point actually, because we had the North Node enter Aries on the 17th of July, I believe it was. And the nodes, of course, from that 29 point, it entered from 29 degrees. The solar eclipse then was an activation point because that happened at 29 degrees. So basically, all of this is to say is that this conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus is part of a much bigger story. It's actually part of this North Node in Aries story, but also Chiron in Aries, because Chiron has been in Aries from 2018, and of course Uranus has also been in Taurus from around that time, right? So both of these celestial bodies have been in these new signs. Well, not very new, but you know what I mean. They've been in these signs since that time period. And the other thing about it, of course, is that right now there is the conjunction happening, and it was at its most strongest on the 19th of February, the conjunction between the North Node and Chiron. So a lot of us have really been doing a lot of inner work, inner exploration, healing, lessons, powerful lessons to do with our identity, leadership, to do with how we assert ourselves, to do with how we take action. These types of themes are all coming up. And we're gonna talk more about the Aries influence in a moment. But I just thought it was important to really consider, this bigger picture and where we're coming from in this way. And then also the other thing about it is Mercury will be retrograde in Aries during the conjunction. So, with Mercury being retrograde, that will be at 16 degrees, the very degree that the conjunction between the North Node and Chiron is. So, you can kind of see with the degrees, there's just more to add. There's more coming up. There's more messages to come through. And with Mercury retrograde, that is going to take place from the 1st of April until the 25th of April. So during the retrograde, this will be a good time to review, a time to look back, a time to kind of reassess. Okay, what has been coming up for me over the past few months? Like, what is it about my wants and my desires and how I push forward? What is it about courage and bravery and really standing up for myself? What about my independence in this way? So just taking a time to really go within and reflect and to ask ourselves these questions. And I think a lot of it is to do with the bigger picture, right? Going back to Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus. And of course, with the dispositor then of the conjunction being Venus, I think a lot of this then has to do with us really showing ourselves that um that value and that appreciation with respect to what we want as individuals. Okay, so the other thing I want to further mention, of course, is if we go over here, is like I said, there's the sextiles to this Pisces influence. But you see, Mars is the dispositor of all that Aries stuff, right? So it's like Venus is the dispositor of the Taurus stuff, and then Mars is the dispositor of the Aries stuff. It's like ba-boom, 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 right? And we're going to explore a bit of this within your horoscopes, but I think that this is pointing toward the importance of, again, it's like this whole thing of going within. It's more about being spiritually aligned, spiritually attuned. And I also think that this is a good time period to really do a lot of reflection, contemplation, and to take care of ourselves, to practice softness, to be caring, to be sensitive toward our own emotional needs, our emotional body. I think especially coming away from the solar eclipse in Aries, which will be pretty powerful, even thinking about how this conjunction is going to be pretty powerful, right? It can be pretty erratic and chaotic, right? It can maybe have many of us sort of like spiraling out of control. But this, I feel, really highlights, okay, time to ground, time to center ourselves. And then also great time to be creative, right? There's so much creative energy in the air around this conjunction, which I think has a lot to say about innovation as well. The whole, financial innovation and physical security innovation as well. Okay, so let me just see. Okay. So, Venus in Aries. We've sort of already touched on this, but I just wanted to break it down a little bit. Here's some keywords to do with Aries. Now, the thing about it is there is the semi-sextile between this conjunction and then some of the Aries planets. Semi-sextiles look at some adjustment, some fine-tuning. So maybe this is saying, okay, around this conjunction, during this conjunction, it's like maybe try and make a few adjustments, some fine-tuning when it comes to leadership, when it comes to your independence, when it comes to self-motivation and your creativity and being active and energetic, right? And with the Mercury retrograde also being a part of it, it's a little bit of reflection. Again, it's I just feel as if whilst it can feel as if during this conjunction it's like this go 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 go. There is some of that happening, I think, but it is also about, huh, Let me think about that. Let me consider that. Oh, I never thought of it that way before. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put that into the plan. Let me just even experiment with that. Uranus even looks at experimentation. So whatever comes up, whatever new big ideas come up, it's like, give it time. Give it some time to really see how things can play out for you. You know, this story, I suppose you could say, to do with Aries, it's not over yet, right? It's not over yet. We've still got the North Node in Aries all the way up until the end of the year, and then the nodes are going to switch. And we've also got more eclipses in Aries and Libra. So I just think that this eclipse, this time period, it's going to add to these bigger themes related. So going back to our Aries Libra activations. Then again, you know what? These conjunctions could also be strongly linked to the eclipses which happened prior to the eclipses in Aries and Libra. So that would have been the eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio, with the nodes being in the North Node being in Taurus and then the South Node being in Scorpio. And that would have been more so from about 2021, 2023, about that time period. So, you know, maybe these eclipses are also going to, this conjunction, rather, my mistake, this conjunction is going to add to those intentions that you set. So maybe even just think back to perhaps 2021, 2023, and consider, you know, what were you building? What did you strive for? What was it that you were seeking long term? What were you committed to? What did you really want? In terms of, you know, finances and your physical security, etc. Take some time then in this way. And you know, with the Aries energy, there's this fire to all of this. There's a passion present as well. There's a trailblazer energy. This is the type of energy that says, I'm going to explore the unfamiliar. I'm going to go for it, right? Lead the way. Be a leader, Venus in Aries says. But whilst you're being a leader, also show some compassion, right? We love to see this. You know, we love to see this sextile, right? Sextiles are supportive, they're assisting. Now, at the same time, there's also the semi-sextile between the Aries and the Pisces. So that's also a little bit of, okay, fine-tuning. You feel like you just want to tell that person that thing, or you just want to be impulsive. Mars and Pisces is like, maybe just try and assess the situation a little bit here. But still, the supportive, assisting energy says, we're held here. You're held. It's going to be okay. This is healing energy. This is also the type of energy that dares us to dream, dares us to vision, and to feel inspired about the next step. Yes, okay, to be reflective, to go within, but there's so much of this fantastical energy, right? There's so much of this dreamer energy. And even seeing how the likes of music and sound and art and dance, etc., can be so healing and revitalizing. This can be very therapeutic, right? So, whilst it is that there's going to be there's basically just a lot of energy in Aries, right? For the most part during this conjunction, there's still this energy present where we're being held, where we realize, you know what, I've got you, you're supported. Perhaps at the same time, there's a bit of flow. This is suggesting flow with this. Just see what this new opportunity, this new possibility could look like. Have you ever visualized it in that way? You know, think even about the types of dreams that you have, the visions that you have, what you really want. And do you often, you know, just stomp on it or kind of go, no, 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 no. I can never. It kind of goes back to the stuff I was saying earlier. But I think Pisces sort of, it gets us flirting with the idea that, you know what, things could very well play out in the ways that you dream. They could. They could, right? Pisces says, open yourself up to the unknown. Enter a new door, right? Enter a new doorway. A new opportunity arises. And to walk through it from a place of inner wisdom. All right, so we have broken down the astrology during this conjunction, But we're going to go over your horoscopes. We're going to do this. Hello, Lopez. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. We're going to get into your horoscopes now. Whew. Okay. We've got Aries to begin with. All right. Let's see. I just need to get some information, actually. Let me see. Okay. Okay. So let's begin. Let's firstly look at Aries. So as you can see here, Aries, from the way your chart is laid out, notice how most of the planets are located within the Eastern Hemisphere. So, with so many planets in the Eastern Hemisphere, I think that this is suggesting how much you're going to feel really motivated during this conjunction. And there will be this real need, this push to want to take action. And perhaps you will also be strong willed. I mean, Aries, you can be headstrong. So, when it comes to the things that you strive for in life, your goals, your aims, your ambitions, you're the types of people who go all in. You're the types of people who do not hold back for a second. But here's what I'm going to challenge you to do during this conjunction. I am going to challenge you to actually be patient. I am going to challenge you to be able to hold back for just a bit. I would even suggest perhaps toward the end of April. This is not to say that you shouldn't take action. This is not to say that you shouldn't make certain choices, right? That wouldn't be realistic of me to say that because it really does depend on your life situation. I get it. But here's the thing. Mercury will be retrograde in your sign up until the 25th of April. And then Mars, which is your chart ruler, will be behind you, right? It's going to be in the 12th house for you. So, if anything, what I think this conjunction is going to bring for you is that of true inner wisdom and actually seeing that you don't need to rush. You don't have to make a decision about your future, about your finances, about your physical security urgently, as much as it may feel like you have to, right? Because Venus, of course, will be in your sign as well. Now, it could be that there are just certain opportunities that come up and you're aligned, right? This is the thing. It could be that, okay, this makes sense. This makes sense. I'm aligned with this. I'm aligned with that. Okay, go. And the path is clear. It's like, right, okay. But I think that if things require too much of a, oh, I need to look into this. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, da, da, da. It's like, take your time, man. Slow it down, really take your time because here's the thing, Aries. Your future is calling. It is calling. It's strong, right? All this Aries energy that I was talking about earlier, it's in your sign, right? And the North Node is in your sign. So this is a big deal for you. The eclipses have been happening in your sign, of course, in Libra as well. But it is about, okay, your identity, okay, your life path, your big goals, what it is that you want out of life, what the next big sort of steps are for you. All right. So I just think that this can be really a useful time for you to do a lot of, reflection and just to consider what your options are, what your choices are. And then the conjunction itself, of course, is happening in your second house. So I think that a lot of this decision making, taking action, and so on, it's so much about your resources. It's so much about the gifts and the talents that you have to share with the world. It could be Aries that it's sort of like there's many people, how do I put this, wanting a piece. And I hope I'm not, misusing this saying, but what I mean by this is like people want what you're offering, right? They want your skills. They want to hire you for the job. They want to give you that salary for a certain job because they see how much you can do. They see how qualified you are, how overqualified perhaps you are, but they trust in your expertise. They trust in what you have to offer. So if this is the case, why not play around with it? Why not step back and really consider, do you know what? Do I want to work for them? What do I want when it comes to this next financial opportunity? So that was for you, Aries. We're now moving on to Taurus. Let me see. I need to get a timer. Um, Taurus. Let me just grab this. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da. Just give me a second. Thank you for your patience. Be right with you. Just need to get this. Okay. Yeah, so Geoff, you did say about with the kite happening. Yeah, so the moon will also oppose that Neptune energy. It's just not something that I'm touching on today. But perhaps, it's something I can talk about at another stage. All right. But yeah, I can see that with the kite. It's certainly an interesting one. But I think that even adds more to the sort of the dream like quality, right? The whole aspirational, um, more so believing in the possibilities, believing in what could be. No, yeah, okay, sure, there could be some confusion, as you say, a bit of misdirection, but yeah, it is interesting because the moon as well will be so late in that degree, and then it's going to move into Libra pretty quickly as well. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. Right. So let's see, Taurus. Let's get back to you, Taurus. Thank you for sharing, Geoff. So I'm just going to get the timestamps. I do apologize for you, Taurus. But hey. All right. So, Taurus, what we see here for you is that much like Aries, right? Many of these planets are going to be in the eastern horizon as well, right? So, with that being said, this is also highlighting that you too are going to feel somewhat ambitious, self motivated, action oriented, very strong willed. And let's even think about this, Taurus. This conjunction is happening in your sign, right? It's happening in your sign. So I think that this has a lot to say about your future, about your growth, even the personal growth that you have been doing over the past year, especially, and also the major changes, these unexpected, unpredictable changes when it comes to your identity, your life path, your image, right? Your physical appearance. I mean, Uranus being in your sign since 2018 has been especially eye-opening, like this huge awakening energy to do with your aims and ambitions and your goals. And it's almost like you're looking back on a previous version of yourself from before 2018 and you're thinking, I do not recognize that person. I don't recognize that person because I'm so not like that anymore. So you have went through so many of your own personal shifts. You've evolved so much over the past few years. So with this conjunction, I think it's especially being during your season as well, right? The sun will be in Taurus as well. I think this is just going to highlight this enthusiasm, this excitement, this passion, this readiness, this willingness, these desires that you have to enter into something very new, right? Broadening your horizons, expanding on your worldview, seeing what other possibilities are presented to you, and even just looking at these major identity shifts, the start of a new cycle in this way for you. Like I said, the sun will be in Taurus, so it will also be your season. So in this way, a big spotlight is also shining on you during this conjunction. Now, what we also want to mention then with this is the fact that there's all of this Aries energy in the 12th house for you too. So it could be that during this conjunction or just around this time period, there is more of a desire to want to relax or to maybe even explore the subconscious, to explore your hidden self, to even think about what is it that is holding you back, right? What is it that is resisting within you? Maybe things to do with asserting yourself, with leadership, with trusting in the next step, perhaps. Chiron in your 12th house perhaps has not been the easiest for you, especially on a psychological, spiritual level. Maybe there's been certain like mental health difficulties or challenges in this way, but also a lot of healing, right? So much to do with how you can learn from such matters and how you can dive deeper within. Mercury retrograde, I think, especially from the 1st of April until the 25th, is going to be quite eye-opening for you because you're going to be able to get a closer look at your blind spots, right? Your blind spots to do with asserting yourself, your blind spots to do with being first, to do with being a leader, being a trailblazer as well. And that Venus energy, of course, Venus being your chart ruler, that has so much to do with your self-love and even integrating more of these feelings of worthiness, to do with who you are as an individual as well. So it's going to be I would even say like a healing, transformative time for many Taurians during this conjunction. And the other thing about it, of course, is that Mars, the dispositor of all the Aries energy, is in the 11th. So there's also more to say about communities and groups and how it is that you identify with certain communities and groups and how is it that you wish to be recognized and respected for, right? There's also the conjunctions with Saturn there. So I think a lot of this does come back to respect and integrity and responsibility and recognizing, that you have so much to give, right? You have so much to give when it comes to certain groups and communities you're a part of. And maybe it's about aligning yourself in this way with people who you do feel really comfortable with, you feel safe with, you feel like, you know what, this is going somewhere. And there's trust here, there's respect and honesty in this. Even just highlighting more of this emphasis on, your dreams and your visions in this regard. So, yeah, that could be quite exciting for you, Taurus. Okay, so we're going to move on to Gemini. Yeah, so Martin, you said the moon stores the deep memories and subconscious. Yeah, hey, that could be very useful. Thank you for adding to it because you know what, that kite between the moon and so with Neptune as a part of it and the moon as a part of it, it could be that this conjunction, as it's strongly linked to innovation and the change and new ways of thinking, right? How Jupiter and Uranus are both tied to the higher mind. So considering what you haven't thought of yet and how that can maybe even help us with how it is that we're conditioned, how it is that we are programmed on a more subconscious level, right? Being able to shift certain subconscious patterns, right? To change them. I love that. That could be a big thing about the kite then, Martin. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Oh, if that's what you meant, sorry, I didn't mean to kind of go off, but I saw that and I thought, wow, that's so awesome. Right, so we're going to move on to Gemini. Oh, great stuff. Okay. Let's now look at you, Gemini. So most of the planets for you are located within let's see, within the south, so the south hemisphere and then the eastern hemisphere, the southeastern hemisphere. So this could very well look like, okay, there are certainly flavors of this where it's more so about you being strong-willed, ambitious, driven around this conjunction. But with the south part of it, oh my goodness, this further adds to what I'm saying. Very career orientated, very much focused on what it is that you wish to achieve externally with out there in the world, right? We notice, especially with the 10th house activations, the 11th house activations, many Gemini are really wanting to trailblaze, really wanting to make something of themselves when it comes to groups and the communities that they're a part of, even being a leader, like a team leader perhaps within a certain group. Now, the conjunction itself is happening in the 12th house for you, Gemini. So there is something about the subconscious here. There's something about your own spiritual healing, aligning with spiritual practices, maybe taking some time to relax, to go within, to reflect, but also, a bit of TLC, a bit of sensuality, doing something artistic and creative and beautiful, even just retreating or just making some time for you, right? That could be a huge part of this for many Gemini, and seeking a great deal of stability and security in all of this. Even the sun will be in your 12th house, so that is further pointing towards some type of, solitude. A little bit of solitude could do a world of good. And then with Venus being the disposer of that Taurus energy for you, that's going to be in the 11th house. So as I was trying to suggest as well, whilst there still is the 12th house activation happening, and the conjunction, it's like, yes, I want to be more so behind the scenes in this way. There's still a lot of this where it's like you out in the open, you presenting yourself, you, right? And you actually being quite bold, right? Quite daring in your quest to sort of be noticed, your quest to be recognized. It's interesting because Saturn has been transiting your 10th house. And so this is very much about how you establish yourself within a public platform, like looking at your public presence, looking at your professional life, and being recognized, being respected for what it is that you have to offer then. But putting in the work, right? Putting in that time and that effort, and really putting in the energy as well, showing up time and time again, Gemini. So we even think with Mars then being a part of this is about, okay, my actions and my goals are geared toward that of success and accomplishment and achievement. I just really see this as many Gemini taking the opportunity. It's like whatever big, new, bright idea, whatever big, new opportunity comes up during the conjunction, you, Gemini, being very quick witted, being very intelligent, you can sort of see in a flash, boom, okay, that is it. And then also, with the Mars influence in Pisces, it's seeing then how things can align on a more spiritual level. Now, the other thing about it is, of course, Pisces does make that square to your sign. So I would even suggest in this way, just to be somewhat cautious of, being misdirected, misguided, misleaded perhaps by people. And here's the thing, Mercury is going to be retrograde. Mercury is the chart ruler for you, Gemini. Mercury retrograde will be in Aries from the 1st of April to the 25th of April. And so it's saying, hey, any shadiness that you sense, any deceptiveness, right? Pisces can also be a sign that's deceptive, that's sneaky, that's emotionally manipulative. If you can sense that coming from members of authority, from professionals, from bosses and managers and stuff like this, you can go, let me think about that. No, actually, my first instinct, my first impulse here is that you are fooling me. Oh, you think I'm stupid? You think I'm going to fall for that? Not today. So, this is the thing. I think the Mercury retrograde influence here during this conjunction will be quite helpful and useful to you, in that you'll be able to really listen to what that first instinct is for you. What is worth going for? Venus, right? Venus looks at what is worth it. Venus is so much about what is valuable to me. So I think a lot of this value, a lot of this worth it attitude is showing up within what? Within groups, teams, communities, networking, those group involvements that you're a part of, Gemini. Okay, so we're going to move on to Cancer. Let me see. Oh, Oh, sorry. Thank you, Martin. Thank you for letting me know my mistake. Um, uh, say it as you would, Jeff. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff, for mispronouncing your name. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Cancer. Let me see. All right, Cancer. So as you can see here, most of the planets are in the southern hemisphere for you during this conjunction. So once again, we're noticing the ambition. We are noticing the strive for success. We're noticing being career focused, pretty career driven around this conjunction as well. And if you're someone, who has Cancerian energy and you're like, I'm not really big into career, still think of this through the lens of purpose. Think of this through the lens of your life's work, right? The 10th house especially also looks at our life's work, and that doesn't just have to be about career. Okay, there's certain people who dedicate their lives to a charity. There's certain people who dedicate their lives to looking after their parents or looking after their family. Okay, so I do want to say that. But let's look at it through the lens of, firstly, the Aries energy, right? Because you have this cluster of planets in Aries in the 10th house during this conjunction. And so I think many Cancerians, it's like, okay, well, what is the next sort of step when it comes to your professional lives? What about a leadership position? Maybe you're already sort of flirting with this idea, or maybe you're already within a position and it does involve leadership. It does involve being a trailblazer in some way, shape, or form, okay? Especially with the North Node also being in Aries. But I think Venus is going to further add to the values here, add to your wage, your pay, your resources, your materials, being recognized as well for your skills, thinking about how Aries can even look, I think, can even be linked into sports or the military, or thinking about fitness, or even thinking about the word I'm reaching for, the word enterprise. Yes, that is the word, to do with Aries. So I think this is the type of energy that says, right, okay, you're going in all guns blazing, you're going in, you're showing up, and you're being there front and center. You're the one leading the team, leading the show, right? Running the show. But you see, of course, the conjunction itself is happening in your 11th house. So maybe this is highlighting this new beginning, this new cycle to do with your hopes and wishes for the future, and how actually, Cancer, what you really what you strive for, what you long for in life, is that of stability, that of feeling grounded, making sure that you have enough, providing for yourself, providing for your family, if you have a family, if you have children, for instance. So a lot of the leadership stuff that we talk about, to do with Aries, to do with your professional life, to do with your career path, your life's work, I think a lot of it is fueled by these bigger picture longings that you have with respect to security, providing materials, this type of stuff. And what I further want to mention with this then is the fact that Mercury will be retrograde during this conjunction. So Mercury will be retrograde in your 10th house from the 1st of April until the 25th of April. So maybe with that retrograde, it is also about, okay, perhaps there are certain people within your professional life who are offering you certain things, right? Prospects, gifts, rewards, pay, opportunities, whatever it may be. But you can maybe use the retrograde as a good time to really reflect, right? Is this for me? Does this align with the future? Does this really align with what I want to build in my life and what I want from my life? Take your time. And we also want to mention here, with Mars being in Pisces in the 9th house, hey, I would not be surprised if many Cancerians decided to take on a new sort of training program, right? Maybe this training program is linked, it's connected in with the professional career related stuff, right? So this could be where, okay, maybe a boss or a manager or an advisor comes to you and says, "Hey, do you know what? I really think that you should take this program, this educational program, as a way to enhance yourself further." Right. And maybe the program, it's somehow linked to, let's say, maybe it's linked to water, right? Pisces. Maybe it's linked to boating and ships. Maybe it's linked to hospitality, or it's somehow linked to art or creativity. So there's a few different options there of what, what the knowledge could be associated with. But yeah, I think then your goals could be geared toward this new knowledge or expanding upon your knowledge so that such matters can be supportive, right? They can assist you when it comes to your hopes and wishes for the future. Though I do want to just mention lastly, of course, the moon is your chart ruler. And uh, the thing about the moon, of course, is that there will be that opposition to Neptune. And the moon will just be at the very end of the third house there. So maybe this is just about, okay, again, maybe it goes back to the Mercury retrograde stuff as well, because Mercury rules Virgo. But maybe this is like, okay, yeah, I can see the practical use in this subject. I can see how it can be useful to me. But it's also about just taking a beat and thinking, okay, but really how does that align with what I want long term, and what does it require of me? And am I having to do more hours? Am I having to overwork and overextend myself for something bigger here? Is it really worth it? So yeah, maybe that's also where the Mercury retrograde can come in handy, because of course, with the moon being your chart ruler, Cancer, it's all about these, right? The waves, your emotional waves, your emotional fluctuations. Here's something just to add. This is what I sort of think when it comes to Cancerian energy is, especially if you have this Cancer rising, right? Because the moon would then be your chart ruler. When it comes to new opportunities in life, of course, this conjunction is going to highlight potential new opportunities and doors opening and all this stuff. I would just always suggest, when it comes to Cancerians, just let your emotions die off a little bit, right? Go through the emotional waves, experience them. But when you do make the decision, right, it comes from a place of calm. It actually comes from a place of, you know what, neutral, being somewhat neutral. Because I think many Cancerians can come from a place of like, emotion. And then it's like, whenever things have kind of faded away, it's like, oh, why did I make that decision? I'm also kind of saying this from a place of, I have my South Node in Cancer. And this is something that I'm trying to learn. So I'm passing on this information, Cancer. Okay, so we're going to move on to Leo. Hi, Teresa. Hi. Hello. Hi, Tarot Destroyer. Welcome. And hi, Lopez. Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to move on to Leo. Let's see. So what we see for you, Leo, is that most of the planets are again in the southern hemisphere. So kind of similar to Cancer, just so much emphasis here on that of ambition, success, establishing yourself in the world, right? Let's even think about how during this conjunction, your chart ruler, which is the sun, is going to be in the 10th house, right? So that is further going to say there's a spotlight here on your achievements, your accomplishments. I even think this conjunction is going to be so profound for many Leos. Uncomfortable, possibly uncomfortable as well, because of course, this is creating a square aspect, right? The Leo squares Taurus in the zodiac. So it could be where you are confronted by things that really do need to change if it is that you seek for something different, right? And maybe the Taurus energy has been teaching you that, it's possible to change things whilst also being comfortable. It's possible to see what or how you can innovate whilst also seeking something familiar and routine. to sort of have security, but to have change at the same time, and how you can better prepare for those waves or those changes. And maybe the thing about it is that you have already been doing this, Leo. Many Leos have been considering their long-term plan. They've been looking at the bigger picture when it comes to their spending, their resources, their finances, their values. It's like, right, okay, Uranus entered Taurus in 2018 and everything's been shaken up left, right, and center, all over the place when it comes to your career, when it comes to your professional lives. And so you've really been able to see practically, realistically, what can I do here? How can I support myself here? What do I need in order to make sure that I can live my best life, right? Leo energy, Leo's the sun. Leo's about, I want the best of the best, okay? I want to enjoy my life. Leo wants to be happy, right? Not, of course, we can't always be happy all the time, but Leo very much about this joy, just joyful energy, this happy presence, this expressive positive influence. I think, Leo, you can be so like so amazingly positive, and it's infectious, right? It's you I don't know what it is. You don't even need to try hard. You just bring people to you. You're so magnetic, and we love it. We love this about you, Leo, okay? So anyway, all of this is to say that, with the conjunction, I think this is looking at just the unexpected being ushered in, and a new seed being planted, right? Something to do with your future, with respect to your physical security. And you even have to think about how Taurus is in the 10th house, and the 10th house is so much about the person that we're striving to become, and really the person that we become later on in life. So for many Leos, I think it is about, being somewhat patient, and more so coming from a place of intention and acceptance, right? Even thinking about your self-worth and how important that is to you, and how you can be so unwavering when it comes to your self-worth, where it's like, yeah, okay, this is this person's opinion, so you know it's, yeah, there's just such a strength, I think, when it comes to the confidence piece in this way. And confidence doesn't necessarily have to be outwardly expressed. um so yeah, confidence, self-assurance, inner security. But here's the thing about it: Venus is the dispositor of that 10th house for you, and that's in the ninth. The North Node is also there. So I feel like this is a conjunction that's also going to invite some type of further education. Maybe traveling is on the cards for many Leos, maybe exploring unknown territories, being a trailblazer when it comes to exploring new horizons, even thinking about self exploration, considering as well how you wish to engage with different sort of cultures and ways of life and belief systems, but doing so through a lens of independence and being daring, being risky, perhaps taking a leap. Now, with that being said, there's also the Mercury retrograde influence, right? So Mercury is going to be retrograde in Aries from the 1st of April until the 25th of April. So I think that Mercury retrograde, do you know what? That could actually be useful in that perhaps you'll reassess a few pieces regarding knowledge and teachings and how you share information and how you publish. This type of stuff could come up. So taking another look, taking some time just to go, okay, what have I done so far? What have I learned so far? What have I shared with my audience, or what have I shared within the team so far? But how can I go back and look at that and then see what I can change? See what I can change in a way where, do you know what, I'm feeling passionate, I'm feeling ready. There's a kind of powerful renewal, so to speak, I think, for many Leos with this Aries energy going on during the conjunction. And we also want to think about how Mars, the dispositor of all the Aries energy, is going to be in the 8th house. So, I talked about renewal just a second ago. Oh, here we go. Renewal, transformation, death, and rebirth. But this is so much about the inner part, right? It's like the 10th house part of it says, hey, yes, external, I'm out there in the world, I'm being recognized, I'm enjoying being in the spotlight here. It's still, Taurus season and everything, the sun being the chart ruler for you. But then there's also the part of it where you say, Hey, you know what? I also recognize that it's also about how I feel on the inside that counts the most. And really, how I feel on the inside is so, so important and so vital when it comes to how I present myself on the outside. So I think that eighth house influence is going to be particularly healing and helpful to you. And maybe it's also pointing toward a little bit of introspection and reflection to do with any, especially with Saturn in the eighth house for you, especially when it comes to any major, intimacy difficulties or any unresolved traumas or having to explore any limitations when it comes to deeper emotions as well. What is it that's maybe blocked for you, and how can you face those things, right? How can you be courageous enough to face those things so that you can actually feel better about yourself? Because let's face it, Leo, you want to feel good about yourself. Okay, so we're going to move on to Virgo next. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, misbehaving. Welcome. What? You messed up your left Achilles tendon? Oh, I'm sorry that you hurt. Is that at your ankle? Is it around that area? I'm sorry to hear that you hurt yourself, but I really hope that you feel better. Oh, good. I'm glad, Teresa, that you find it to be accurate. Thank you for tuning in. You said, Lopez, that your sister is a Leo. She radiates powerful energy. Yes, we love that about Leos. And what I love about Leos as well is Leos are just they're just gonna tell it to you straight. Okay. They're just gonna tell you like, hey, I don't like that, or I disagree with that, or that's not something I want to do. But it doesn't have to be a big, issue. Yeah. I love it. Okay, we're gonna move on to Virgo now. Virgo. All right. So we see here that most of the planets are in the southern western hemispheres. So with the southern part of it, okay, with the southern part of it for Virgo, there is a lot of let's just say focus upon career influence, ambition, success, achievement, this type of stuff. Okay. But with the Western part of it, we also then notice that this is about your own actions and how they align with others and being quite team focused, really wanting to collaborate, wanting to get together with other people and seeing that there is success found in numbers. Maybe what's coming up here for a lot of Virgos is the importance of delegating, the importance of being able to see what your responsibilities are, but also how you can share some of that responsibility with other people. How can you lighten the load a little bit? This is an interesting one, of course, because like I said, the moon will be at the very end of Virgo during the conjunction. It will literally enter Libra minutes after, which is, there's more to that, I suppose. But still, with that final degree, the 29th anaretic degree, maybe this is highlighting, yes, it is an opening of sorts. It is highlighting the importance of, you seeing that there is so much that you can do, so much that you can give in terms of your own support and service, but also reflecting upon how that shows up within collaborations, how it is that you do connect then with others, how it is that you join forces with others. What can you give over where it's like, this isn't just all for me to do. Virgo, you can be such perfectionists. And I think that perfectionism can almost always translate into you feeling like you have to do everything on your own. This is not necessarily the case. And I do understand that a lot of the times, Virgo, people aren't willingly sort of offering their help to you, and that can happen where you sort of you fall into this habit, perhaps an unconscious habit, and maybe this conjunction can help you with this because of the Pisces energy. But you can fall into this unconscious habit of where it's other people expecting stuff from you, right? We expect this from you. We expect this from you. But maybe have you thought of it that it's actually a lot of it's to do with you expecting things from yourself, the standards that you set for yourself. Now, these things could have very well been conditioned, right? Coming from a place of family and home and how you were raised and everything. And this is the sort of identity that you formed, that you shape based on your previous experiences. But here's the thing about it, Virgo. Mercury is your chart ruler, right? And so Mercury is going to be retrograde in Aries during this conjunction. Mercury will be in Aries from the 1st until the 25th of April. That I think is going to be extremely eye-opening for you in terms of, okay, what about my identity? What about the times whenever I've just had these certain expectations and these standards of myself, but because I have, then I've been doing more, or because I have, I've been going beyond my limits and I've been burning myself out. And you've been going through this, I think. Especially with Saturn having been in your sixth house from 2020 until 2023, I think that all this stuff that I'm talking about, to do with your productivity, your efficiency, work, the amount that you do on a day-to-day basis, your routines, your habits, all this stuff, they've been coming up and really showing up as, do you see the limits? Do you see how much you actually do go above and beyond, and how can you, going back to delegate, how can you trust other people to carry the load, to lighten the load a little bit? How can you sort of open up and say, do you know what, I'm struggling here, do you know what, I need help, I need some type of assistance with X, Y, and Z. Now the thing about it too is, Virgo, is you can have this tendency of thinking that everybody else isn't going to do it as well as you, or that you need to do it, because if you don't do it, then things aren't going to be the way that you want, right? So I think the Aries part of it is actually saying there's something psychological going on beneath the surface, right? The eighth house stuff, more tied to, unresolved traumas. It's more so tied to the shadow. It's more so tied to repressed emotion, things that are buried deep in the subconscious in this way. And so maybe a lot of this is to do with how you take action, how you assert yourself, how it is that you really want to do it all on your own. Maybe you don't recognize that so much. But here's the other thing I want to mention. We talked about this as we explored the astrology. So make sure that you do, look at that, the astrology to do with this conjunction. But the North Node and Chiron are making this conjunction in the sky. So the day that I'm recording this, there is a conjunction happening. Now, it was at its strongest on the 19th of February. That is when a new cycle was ushered in. So this has a lot to say about your own personal healing journey, right? About your own healing journey with respect to your wants, your goals, your aims, thinking about the type of leader you want to be and the types of ways that you wish to assert yourself, recognizing that it's not so scary. Here's the thing. What just to kind of follow with this, I think, Virgo, right? Whilst it is that you're known as the, how do we say, the servant, right? You're known as the sign that sort of stays in the background, right? And works behind the scenes, right? You work behind the scenes. Sort of imagine it like there is a play going on. Instead of being the actor on the stage, right? You're the one who's doing the lighting. You're the one who's doing the costume changes and stuff like that. And you may enjoy that. Okay, sure, you may enjoy that. But what if this conjunction is daring you to think bigger? And I'm not saying that the behind the stuff isn't like it's not worthy, it's not useful, etc. What I mean by this is, what if this conjunction helps you see that there's something bigger in terms of you perhaps entering like a bigger scenario, right? Where there's more people, or where you're actually in a manager role, or where you are directing people in a way where actually you never thought possible, right? You actually see that the skills that you have can actually be expanded on and shared with the world, or passed on to other people. And maybe this is about you sort of coming together, being in a position of authority, a position of control. And by control, I just mean, okay, we're going to control this certain thing over here, and we're going to take action here, I'm going to take charge here. So With Mars there, I think that can be particularly useful to you in the seventh house. But the ways in which you're going to, I suppose, take charge is you're still going to be empathetic, right? Virgo, I think that you can be such empathetic leaders in this way. And maybe this is a conjunction that's going to usher this in. It's going to help you see that there's a way to lead, but to also lead in a calming way, in a somewhat controlled yet empathetic way. Okay. And so I think that can be particularly healing for you too. Okay. So we're going to move on to Libra. Okay. Hello, Brianna. Hi. Hi to Gibson. Welcome. Hi. Thank you for being here, everyone. Good to see. Good to see. All right. So, Libra, let me just get my timestamps ready for Libra. Libra. So, what we're seeing here for you, Libra, is that most of the planets are in the Western Hemisphere, right? So, this is a conjunction that's going to focus more on others, being team focused, being team orientated. This is really looking at your grips and your collaborations, which, you know what, this could be quite fitting for many Libras because you are the sign of the other, right? You're the sign that can be more so relationship orientated. You care about getting along with people, you care about harmony, you care about sharing, you also care about justice and making sure that people get what they deserve. Let's just say that. So I do think that this is a conjunction that's gonna welcome in a lot of this stuff for you. So there is that. But what we want to do is we even want to think about how the chart ruler Venus is in Aries opposite, and how Venus is the dispositor of the Taurus stuff. So I think that this is looking at these leadership roles, these possibly manager roles, these supervisor roles to do with partnership. This could even be certain business deals that are secured or that you want to secure, because here, of course, we want to remember Mercury's still retrograde, right? The thing about Mercury retrogrades is that I wouldn't say that you should never sign a contract or make an agreement ever. This is what I think about Mercury retrogrades, and I've talked about this before. If it's something that you've already visited in the past, right? I think Mercury retrogrades can be great for revisiting that thing that's already been, that's already happened, right? And then it's like, okay, use the Mercury retrograde and then go, okay, right, done. So it could be something where you're already revisiting something that's happened previously, or it's a part of something from the past, and then it's that retrograde motion. It's like, okay, I can see it now. I'm a lot more clear in my view here, and then you move forward. So that could be interesting. So maybe for Libra, it's saying, okay, what contracts are coming back up? What opportunities are coming back around? Maybe such opportunities are even linked to that of shared resources, shared accounts, debts, managing other people's resources, managing other people. Okay. This is also why I was suggesting with the Virgo energy, because of the Western part of it, others, others, others. So with you, Libra, this is also, I think, inviting some type of leadership position when it comes to others and how it is that you then collaborate. And perhaps as well, this is looking at some negotiation. Going back to the whole business deal stuff, yes, you can also use the Mercury retrograde as a way to decide, as a way to do the thing that you do so well. Let's just put it that way, to weigh out the pros and the cons. Okay, maybe Mercury retrograde can be particularly eye-opening for you in terms of this will be a good way for you to really feel into the opportunity, right? In terms of instinct, right? Aries is such an instinctive sign, but of course with Libra, whilst there can be the instinctive part of it with Aries, then the Libra comes in and says, okay, yes, this is the instinct, but I'm also going to think it through. That's the thing about, our instincts. Just because we have an instinct about a new position or role, whatever it is, it doesn't mean that what is, realistically true for us is necessarily aligned with whatever it is. So I think the South Node in Libra, that's going to be particularly useful to you, because then it's inviting some type of back and forth, right? Maybe there's just more information that you need to get, right? Greater feedback, for example. But again, with the South Node being in Libra, you also don't want to fall into the whole trap of like being too concerned about what other people think too. So it's a bit of a balancing act, I guess you could say, with the nodes being in the seventh and the first. But essentially, I do think that this is looking at your decision making skills, your ability to make well thought out decisions around this conjunction. And I think a lot of it then has to do with the security related to shared resources, thinking about how it is that you share your resources with another person, or even thinking about more of this psychological exploration, right? To do with the eighth house, thinking even about how the eighth house can look at the occult, the paranormal. So, it could be that many Libras who earn money from these practices, right? From these types of studies. And so, with the sun particularly shining a light on these areas as well, perhaps these opportunities and themes will come up. But again, it's about how it is that you make decisions when it comes to such matters. Even property could be a part of this, investments could be a part of this, land here as well. And the other thing about it is Mars, which is the dispositor of the Aries energy, that's going to be in the sixth house. So that could be particularly interesting in terms of your health, your well being. Maybe this is also why it's important to try to take a step back and to make a few considerations to follow things through, or to think things through rather. So Mars, I think, in Pisces can be signifying a bit of contemplation, right? Even just looking at, what, instead of being so urgent, right? This is what I also like about Libra energy. They're kind of similar, I suppose, to Taurus. There's not much urgency. It's like I don't have to jump on the first opportunity that comes my way. I can actually hold back, even if my instinct is saying to do this. I can still hold back and I can still explore my options. There could be a better opportunity over here. Who knows? So maybe Mars in Pisces is going to highlight a little bit of, okay, yep, I've thought about this, but you know what? I'm actually going to really do a lot of soul searching here. I actually think that many Libras are going to revamp or revitalize the ways in which they take care of their health. And on that note, making it as a part of your everyday routine, being solid in your approach, right? Being committed in your approach, because Saturn will also be there. Okay, so we're going to move on to Scorpio. Scorpio. All right. So most of the planets are in the Western Hemisphere for you as well. So with the Western Hemisphere, this is also pretty other orientated. Let me actually just start again because I forgot to do the timestamp. Let me start again. Timestamps. Let me see. Scorpio, moving on to you. So, most of the planets are in the Western Hemisphere for you as well, as you can see here. So, again, this is pretty other focused, other orientated, more about teamwork, collaboration, this type of stuff. But I think when we enter into this via the conjunction itself and how the conjunction is happening in the seventh house, this is particularly eye opening and profound with respect to others, because the seventh house is the house of others. The seventh house is the house of collaboration and business as well. Even thinking about partnerships, right? This could be a long-term partnership in terms of business, or a long-term partnership in terms of romance, whatever it may be. This is the type of conjunction that ushers in a new cycle, but something that is quite expansive and fresh, new opportunities, major breakthroughs, major realizations, epiphanies, all these types of things. And then the other thing about it is, when we think about how it will be Taurus season, the sun shining a light on these areas for you too. And the sun is even the ruler of Leo, right? So the sun rules your 10th house. So maybe these partnerships and these opportunities are really strongly linked to your career, right? They're linked to professional relationships, especially, or they're linked to your life's work in terms of being a boss, being a manager, being a leader. So, a new cycle upon the horizon for you. Innovative, very innovative. Now, the other thing to mention is that Venus would be the dispositor of all of that Taurus energy, and that is in the sixth house. So, this is further activating your area of life related to work, related to your services. I think Scorpios are natural born leaders. I just want to say that. You're natural born leaders. Scorpios are able to direct others from a young age. They're able to be very upfront about what they want and about how they wish things to go from a young age. And so, with the sixth house energy, especially, I think that this is looking at how these characteristics of yours, these qualities of yours, how they are refined, how they really start to show themselves within your work, within your everyday as well. And so I think Venus being in the sixth house, that is going to show up as you perhaps giving some type of direction or being a leader toward coworkers or colleagues, or stepping into some sort of a possible new position. Could be a whole new position, it could be a completely different role, it could be a pay rise, it could be a promotion, and perhaps this also looks at a new service that you offer that's quite new, and you're a trailblazer in this way. So this could be quite exciting, I think, for you, Scorpio. And here's the other thing about it is, with Mercury being retrograde in Aries from the 1st of April until the 25th of April, this is also about you doing a little bit of, let's just say, schoolwork. Let's just say taking your time and seeing what it is that you want to add. And here's the thing. Mercury, of course, is the ruler of your 11th and your 8th. So maybe this is looking at a few investment ideas or property ideas, or thinking about how it is that you do share your resources with others. Taking a beat to really go over the accounts or to go over the plan. Some decision making is required, I think, in this way, but maybe such matters can be discussed with others, right? It can be discussed with somebody else. Now, as you can perhaps with Chiron here as well, which I haven't really touched so much on Chiron, I think, within this reading. Of course, Chiron does look at the healing quality to all of this. So just to touch on it for you, Chiron will also be conjunct Venus. So maybe this is looking at how such new roles, leadership roles, or even just your attitudes toward leadership, how these things can be really quite healing for you. I think this is what many Scorpios are going through. You have since 2018 really been working on yourself and improving. The whole self-development stuff, I think, has been happening for you on this physical level, in terms of your body, your wellness, just looking after yourself, but also the personal development on Scorpio's end when it comes to service and work, and looking at these, again, going back to the management types of roles, the advisory types of roles. And the other thing I want to mention then is just how much these areas are going to, I think, catapult you then when it comes to the conjunction, or just sort of seeing what the clear vision is. And we also want to mention how Mars is then the dispositor of the sixth house stuff, and that's in the fifth house. So, hey, do you know what? Whilst there is so much going on, when it comes to other people, business like stuff, work life stuff, all the sixth house, seventh house matters for you, Scorpio, Mars actually comes along and says, okay, well, also make some time for enjoyment, fun, play, pleasure. Looking also at areas related to children, okay? Thinking about if you have children, for instance, or you want to have children, maybe there is more of an action plan in place, or a desire or a want there, or maybe it's that you explore really like what you want in terms of your passions and your interests. What do you want to achieve? Where do you see yourself headed? And how do you wish to expand upon your hobbies and forms of enjoyment as well? Okay, so we're going to move on to Sagittarius. Hello, Casio. Casio, welcome. Welcome, welcome. And thank you, Lopez, for your feedback. Okay, Sagittarius, let's see. Take a drink of water. Sagittarius, moving on to you. All right, so as you can see here, most of the planets are located within more of the northern western hemispheres. So there is a part of this, I think, for many Sagittarians, where it's about privacy. It's about focusing more on who you are, on more of a psychological level, or considering introspection, right? Introspection, reflection, this type of stuff. And at the same time, focusing on all the sort of teamwork stuff, the other related stuff. But maybe a part of the reason for why there is so much reflection going on, the introspection is happening because you really want to see like how you do fit in with other people, or how you get along with other people, or how you wish to sort of join in this way. But still, what I do want to mention is that this conjunction is quite profound for you because Jupiter is your chart ruler, right? So Jupiter being here in the sixth house is going to be particularly eye-opening for you, because I think this is going to look at the real drastic changes that are going to occur and have been unfolding, have been occurring when it comes to your health, your well-being, when it comes to your routines, your everyday, your schedules, how you keep track of time. So thinking about time management as well, thinking also about your productivity, how efficient you are. I think you do strive for something that's stable and steady, Sagittarius, but I think at the same time, with the planets in this position, it's very much been a whirlwind. Like, it's been exciting as well, don't get me wrong, since 2018, so much has shaken you to your core and has shaken you up in this regard. I perhaps didn't use those words correctly in terms of that saying, but still, just the chaos, the sudden changes, the unpredictable. And I think, you know what, a big part of the Sagittarius is that you can sort of go with the flow, or you can kind of go with it. You can go with it because maybe there's a big part of you that trusts that all will work out and all is going to be okay, and you try to be positive and you try to remain hopeful. Maybe this could be the types of breakthroughs that you did not foresee coming, right? Maybe this is a rare case of good luck, a big bit of luck coming your way here, Sagittarius, especially because the chart ruler is Jupiter for you. Then again, this could be where things really do change with regard to your routines. And maybe that is something that you've really been hoping for, you've been longing for, you've wanted something very new to come along, to maybe actually help you when it comes to experiencing greater freedom in your life. Of course, you seek freedom, right? You seek independence. There's a breaking free energy present, basically, which you may really enjoy about this conjunction. Now, Venus is going to be the dispositor of the conjunction. So Venus has something to tell us here about children for you, if you have any, thinking about maybe this likelihood of you seeking to have children, or what your values are with respect to children, or thinking about the type of independent views you have when it comes to children as well. Or this is looking at even the amount of healing that's been happening on a more childlike level for you, thinking about how the fifth house looks at the inner child. So, we talked about with the northern western hemispheres here, how a lot of it is to do with privacy and just more of that introspection. So maybe we're seeing this especially through the fifth, fourth houses. With the fifth, it's like, okay, inner child healing, inner child lessons and growth. But then I think perhaps a big part of it too is the amount of values that you have, the value that you hold toward your self expression, and toward risks, and even just being somewhat deliberate and intentional about the ways in which you express yourself too, and not really shying away. What I kind of get from this is facing your fears, facing what it is that limits you, having this I can do it attitude. And Mercury, of course, will be retrograde in the fifth house for you from the 1st of April there until the 25th. So that Mercury retrograde influence, I think, can be particularly eye opening in that you'll be able to see, okay, this is how I seek to really share and communicate, and this is how I wish to show up, and seeing how you can be a leader in this way, and all of the inner child stuff you've been doing when it comes to leadership is crazy. Um, yeah, I think this is even just looking at some reflection as well with respect to what you enjoy, what really makes you feel happy, like what makes you feel good, what makes you feel alive, Sagittarius. This is a great conjunction for this awakening to occur, for this insight to occur when it comes to your inner child and when it comes to what brings you joy. Now, Mars will also be the dispositor of the fifth house for you too, and that's in the fourth. So, honestly, this energy within itself, of course, Pisces does square your sign, Sagittarius. I'm going to say for you, Sagittarius, to really just try your best to practice self compassion. I just feel as if so much of this Aries influence in your fifth, it can be it can be, what's the word, assertive, and it can be supportive, and it can be exciting too, where it's like adventure and trailblazing and risks and yes, 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 taking on these opportunities. But I think it can also highlight some, wounds that maybe haven't really been addressed, or difficulties in accepting how you express yourself or how it is that you play or have fun. With the Chiron influence, it's a little bit, that's that painful part within the chart, isn't it? So Mars, I think, is highlighting, okay, compassion, self-soothe, be kind to yourself, Sagittarius. And at the same time, maybe this is looking at how you can connect with family, right? In this spiritual way. Bring it back to family, or bring it back to your emotional needs. Bring it back to belonging, to what is familiar. Your emotional security in this way, right? Valuing your emotional security. Okay, so we're moving on to Capricorn next. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Capricorn, let's move on to you. So as you can see, most of the planets for you, Capricorn, are in the Northern Hemisphere. So with the Northern Hemisphere, this is more so about your own privacy. This is more so about being subjective and introspective, right? This going within supportive energy, I think, for Capricorn. Now, what I want to remind you of is the fact that your chart ruler, which is Saturn, that is in the third house, and then it's going to be making those conjunctions with Neptune and Mars. So the third house influence here, I think a lot of this has to do with how things do stem from the mind, thinking about how it is that we interact with the world, the views that we have about certain people. A lot of it comes from our own sort of thoughts and our own beliefs tied to those thoughts as well. So I think Capricorn, I think what's been happening, what has been unfolding for you, is addressing these lessons, perhaps these harsher lessons, when it comes to what it is you think in terms of yourself and of the world around you. And this could also be quite restrictive and possibly I'm going to say this, possibly aggressive energy when it comes to siblings and cousins and even your peers, teachers, and stuff like this. There could be a bit of an argument or a bit of a disagreement, right, with the Saturn Mars energy and being in the third house. Even think about how Saturn and Mars are these malefics in this regard. Of course, there's so many more layers to this, but this is where I'm going for now. You could talk about these placements all day long, but there's only so much time that we have. But yes, I think that this is highlighting the possible struggles or the challenges, to do with conversation, or even considering as well where your mind is going in terms of your imagination, your creativity, right? Perhaps things can feel restricted or there's some type of hardships. But here's the thing about it, of course, is that there are the sextiles to the conjunction itself in the fifth house. So actually, this conjunction can be quite powerful and profound in terms of a new creative cycle, right? Being ushered in. This creative cycle that maybe you've been longing for. It's like, what's the next big idea? What's the next big thing that I want to do here? And as well, considering how it is that you wish to add to your hobbies and your creativity. And this is a conjunction that says, okay, have at it. Okay, this is a breakthrough. This is how you innovate. This is how you change things up. And with it also being Taurus season, right? The sun will be in Taurus. You're going to be shining a light on your creative projects, aren't you? So that I think can be exciting, pretty exciting for you, Capricorn. But maybe a lot of it still is to do with your own sort of private world, right? Giving yourself that time, that space to play around with your creativity, to play around with the fantasy world, right? Even Mercury will be retrograde, and that's going to be in Aries in the fourth. So maybe this is looking at how many Capricorns. It's going to be more about the home, family focus. It's more about you spending time just getting to know yourself, or just literally being alone. Or this is looking at your own sort of emotional healing or your emotional needs, spending time with family in this way, taking your time to really have these heartfelt discussions with family members, maybe about the past, working through your own sort of emotional traumas or any healing that's been going on, getting to the depths, to the point of a situation from the past, really going there, and how that can be really quite transformative and powerful for you. And the Mercury retrograde can also indicate, some type of reassessment when it comes to studying and learning, but doing so again within the home, right? Again, going back to the whole private stuff. Even Mercury, right? Mercury is the traditional ruler of the third. So I think this further adds to the communication piece that I was talking about a moment ago. And Venus, even being the dispositor of the fifth house for you in this way, the fifth house planets, Venus being in the fourth house, I think this is looking at real enjoyment and pleasure, being with people who you love and who appreciate you, and you feel safe with them, you feel secure with them, you feel supported by them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be where it is literally your family. But this could be where, it's certain friends that you have. It's the sort of family that you create in this life too. It could be that, or it could be, spending time with children, spending time with the family that you have later on went on to create in this regard. But basically, I think here for many Capricorns, a lot of this comes back to security, emotional wellness, emotional well-being. But the conjunction itself, I think, is going to be really very exciting with that fifth house influence, because I think that is going to highlight just the creative edge, the real creative edge that you're going to have, that's going to help you innovate in this regard, especially financially. Woohoo! Possible financial prospects for you, Capricorn, which I'm sure you may love to hear. Right, so we're going to move on to Aquarius now. Right. Okay. Aquarius. So notice here that most of the planets are in the northern hemisphere for you. So very similar to that of Capricorn. Privacy, it's more about going within, introspection. It's a subjective time, I think, during this conjunction, especially because the conjunction itself is going to be in your fourth house. So this could be where many Aquarians, there is this desire to want to innovate within the home or about home, to innovate when it comes to property or housing, or looking at the investments here with respect to property and housing. Or this could be a freaking, a rare case of luck. That's the other thing. Of course, this conjunction can highlight a rare case of luck for many people. You just, it could be that way. So a rare case of luck when it comes to housing, such as getting a certain amount of money, thinking about fortune and prosperity. Or this could be where there is something that's passed on to you in this way, maybe through family, through loved ones, you're supported. Or this could also show up in more of a psychological, emotional way, more of this inner way, right? Where perhaps this is highlighting some type of change or renewal, excitement, something very new when it comes to your emotional needs, and how you're seeking something solid. You're seeking something calming. Aquarius, you strive for feelings of contentment when it comes to family and home. But here is the thing. Uranus has been transiting that fourth house for you. Of course, Uranus is one of your chart rulers, and that's been happening in your fourth since 2018. And so you've been realizing, oh my gosh, I've been moving from place to place so much. It's hard for me to find my bearings. It's hard for me to feel secure because I'm constantly moving, constantly relocating. People are always changing when it comes to family and home. What's going on? It's chaotic, it's erratic, so there is that as well. And of course, Uranus will continue to transit your fourth house. It will continue to be in Taurus for another year and a half or so, right until the end of 2025, I think. Well, 2026, I think it goes for that dip, but I digress. There's still more of this up and down, unpredictable energy unfolding, essentially. But this is also with the Jupiter conjunction to Uranus. I think this is also looking at, okay, I can see the bigger picture. Actually, I can see the possibilities. I can see my future self here when it comes to home and property and what could be whenever Uranus perhaps eventually does leave Taurus, right? So I think this is inspirational energy. And I think it's also about the inner faith, having inner faith, trust. Now, Venus, the dispositor of the Taurus, that is in the third house for you. So I think this is pointing toward your own creative edge and your own willingness to step up and to try something new and to be bold and brave when it comes to forms of communication, when it comes to teaching, when it comes to educating others. I think for many Aquarians, you've really wanted to up your game when it comes to how it is that you um how it is that you study and how it is that you learn, and wanting to be more of a creative learner or a quick learner. Now, Mercury will be retrograde during this conjunction from the 1st of April until the 25th of April. So I would just say in this way, perhaps throughout this period and even just around the conjunction, it's a good idea to go back and kind of think about, okay, well, how far have I come when it comes to my studies? How far have I come when it comes to what I've researched and what I've learned over the years? And can I see that, things have really changed? Or maybe you seek to revisit an old habit or an old sort of pattern in this way, or you perhaps reconnect with a sibling or with a cousin. That could be a thing, where you're having conversations to do with the past with a particular sibling or cousin, or even looking at your peers in this regard, maybe certain peer relationships, neighborhood relationships. So striking up a conversation with such people, or having to go into the past and maybe using that information as a way to help you in the present, Or maybe this is even about making sure that you are looking over all of the details and the facts as well, especially if it is that there is some type of new exciting opportunity up ahead. And maybe that opportunity is somehow linked to finance and it's linked to your resources, right? Because, of course, Mars is the dispositor there of the Aries energy, and that will be in Pisces. So, yeah, the things I think could be it could be things are a bit murky, or you just don't have all the necessary facts yet. That's something I've been trying to say with Mercury retrograde during the conjunction. I think it's highlighting that we may not have all of the information that we need quite yet or at that time. So maybe it will be useful to just give it a bit of time to really see where things settle, how things settle, right? Because even the conjunction could be so powerful and profound where it's like, I'm going to overcommit and I'm going to make all these promises, the future. Mm, but the Mercury retrograde can help us perhaps just go within to dig a little deep as well with Mars and Pisces to do some reflection and contemplation. And of course, even for you, Aquarius, a lot of this is linked to your values, again, your resources, how you earn money, how you budget, how you spend, all this type of stuff, even thinking about your skills. And of course, with going back to Venus once more, I think that Venus energy, it's perhaps looking at how you can connect, in this loving, harmonious way, even with certain siblings, right? To come from a place of um, love and possible compassion, even Mars being in Pisces again, there's that compassionate piece. But still, maybe it is looking at, okay, well, what is it that I want when it comes to sibling relationships? What do I want when it comes to even my studies, or what do I want when it comes to long distance travel? And just having a good hard think about such matters, and then wanting to sort of focus on the attraction piece in this way, right? Being able to say, hey, yes, this is what I want. Okay, well, I want to align myself with such matters. How do I do that? And being just very straightforward about it. All right, so we're going to move on lastly to Pisces. Thank you all so much for being here this evening. I hope you've enjoyed this live stream, and I hope that you find it to be useful. It's good that it's up nice and early for you, so you'll have it here. Lastly, Pisces. So, most of the planets for you, Pisces, are in the northern eastern hemispheres. So, whilst there is a big part of this, I think, where it's tied to privacy, introspection, being subjective, there's also another part of it that's more so linked to being a self motivator, being action orientated, and really just going for it, right? Being driven in this respect. How fitting, because Mars is going to be in your first house during the conjunction. So I think for many Pisces during this conjunction, I think it's looking at what your goals are in terms of your life path, and thinking about those bigger aims, those bigger objectives that you have, and taking your time. Saturn even has been such a blessing for you, because Saturn in your sign has been teaching you so much about longevity, about integrity, about responsibility, holding yourself accountable. And so Mars coming along, it's like, hey, you know what? I'm also aligning my actions with these very lessons that have been coming up. And there's so much wisdom in all of this. It's seeing that you possess so much truth and wisdom, and you can also take action based on the inner wisdom that you have, and also paying attention to what your intuition is really telling you. And so this energy, in combination with the fact that, Jupiter is your chart ruler, Jupiter is there and it's in Taurus, and there's also the sextile. So the conjunction itself, to combine it in, it's like a lot of this action focused stuff is strongly linked to the ways in which you do communicate with others, the message that you're trying to convey, recognizing that, you know what, all on its own time, all on its own time. I think for many Pisces, this is a big, big focus that's been coming up. It's like, yes, okay, I can see that my certain dreams are here, and these are my visions, and these are my wants and my desires and my passions and everything. But I am going to take my time. I am going to plod along. I am not going to force. Why would I force? Says Pisces. Pisces is so incredible for this. Pisces teaches us that shouldn't have to force. We shouldn't have to push our way in order to kind of be noticed or to get recognized or to get a pat on the back. Pisces is able to kind of step back and go, if it's meant for me, it will come, right? It will not pass me. What is meant for me will be for me. And this then links to opportunity when it comes to the whole communication studies research piece with the third house. Maybe also there's something here about moving, right? The third house can also look at short relocations, right? Or closer relocations. You think about relocating within your local area, or from a certain city to a different city, or from a certain town to another town. Right. So maybe there is something about relocation, or there's something about switching schools or new opportunity when it comes to these very areas. And also thinking about opportunity with respect to siblings, again, going back to the third house stuff, any siblings that you have, and maybe there's sort of extra value and quality that comes through a sibling, or maybe there's some type of prosperity or fortune that comes through, or maybe this is even looking at you taking a certain trip with a sibling or a cousin, or with an old classmate of yours, or maybe this is looking at how many Pisces you want to really innovate when it comes to your studies, right? When it comes to how it is that you educate yourself, and even how it is that you educate others. So back to the whole sort of um, goal stuff, motivation stuff. Perhaps these things then are linked to these areas. Now, we also want to mention that Venus. Okay, so Venus being the dispositor of the third house stuff, that's in the second house. So with Venus being here, I think, Pisces are really surprising, because whilst Pisces can be known for, merging with others, showing compassion, and really wanting to, um, get along with other people, I do think that Pisces, you do seek to want to create some type of harmony and union in this way. I mean, Venus is exalted within your sign, right? There's this whole even live and let live attitude with Pisces. But whilst you can be even quite empathetic and compassionate toward other people's needs and listen to their worries and their woes and everything else, you also just surprise people, because you have this warrior like spirit too, right? You have this very much freedom, independent value system where it says, hey, I know what I want and I know how to get it. But again, it's not, I just don't think it's about forcing. It's just more about, this is the path and I'm following it. I'm going for it. So I think Venus here is perhaps looking at how things may be very attractive in this way, right? You could attract really great opportunities toward you, Pisces, during this conjunction. And maybe a lot of it has to do with how you earn money. And maybe some of it also has to do with any investments, possibly as well. This is looking at adding to your skills, right? The second house can also look at our skills, our talents. So we could notice here with you, Pisces, that you further yourself, right? There's this personal development quality to Aries as well. So there's this personal development happening when it comes to your skills and your talents, and really wanting to improve. And here's the other thing about it is, with Mercury being retrograde from the 1st of April until the 25th of April, well, this is also highlighting your ability to, okay, I'm going to rethink the plan. I'm going to rethink what my skills are, and I'm going to add to them in ways where I can say, yes, this is going to support me. This is going to help me within such and such an area. And with the Mercury retrograde as well, perhaps this is highlighting, just taking some time to go over what the accounts are, to go over the financial stuff, even the investment stuff, and have a little bit of a think about, okay, well, these are my goals, this is what I want. But Mercury retrograde can help you see how you can get there, and perhaps more of a a productive way, in a helpful way. And maybe as well, it's just seeing what you've overlooked, anything that you've missed can be useful just to go over the data, especially the numbers, right? I can see many Pisces working with numbers during the conjunction. Okay, so that is us, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This was enjoyable. I think this was my first time doing, a more of a placement up ahead forecast. Thank you so much, Martin, for being here. I really hope you find it to be helpful. Thank you, Lopez, as well. Oh, great. Thank you. That is so appreciated. Thank you. And Martin, yes, to you as well. I'm so appreciative. Thank you so much. And also, thank you to Josh. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you also to Casio, sorry, and Gibson as well. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And just to remind you that if you're interested in joining the Patreon, you can. The link is down below. There's actually a new video up over there, so you can gain access to that early by becoming a member of the Hermes tier, but you can gain access to daily forecasts and PDF guides over at the Patreon. And I want to say thank you so much to my patrons for all of your support. And just a quick reminder that if you're interested in my annual perfections workshop, the workshop link will be in the description, and you can also register by going to hannahselsewhere.com/workshops. It's going to be held at the end of March. Thank you all so much for listening today. I appreciate you so much. Thank you to my viewers. And if you're new here, of course, thank you for watching. I hope you can subscribe. And if you are interested in booking reading with me, you can also go to hannahselsewhere.com. And if you did enjoy this video today, you can always buy me a coffee. Anyway, that is me, everyone. Thank you once more. And I will talk to you later. Good luck during this conjunction. I hope it brings you many brilliant rewards and opportunities. Bye.